Imagine an empire so vast, it touched 3 continents and shaped the world we live in. From humble beginnings to absolute power, Rome conquered, built, and influenced like no other. But even the mightiest can crumble. What were the secrets to its incredible success, and what ultimately led to its dramatic downfall? Get ready to discover the astonishing story of the Roman Empire, told in just 10 mind-blowing facts. The Republic's birth and expansion. Rome wasn't always an empire. It began as a small city, and for centuries, it was a republic. This meant that instead of a king, citizens had a say in how things were run, electing leaders and making laws together. This new system of governance, born from overthrowing monarchy, was a radical idea for its time. The early Roman Republic was ambitious. Its legions, disciplined and determined, began to expand Rome's influence. They fought wars, not just for defense, but to gain territory and resources. Through a series of conflicts, Rome gradually conquered its neighbors on the Italian peninsula, bringing them under Roman rule and incorporating their lands into the growing republic. This expansion wasn't always smooth. There were fierce battles and significant challenges. These early conquests were crucial. They provided Rome with more manpower, more food, and more wealth. This allowed the Republic to build a stronger army and a more complex society. The Romans were also clever. They didn't just conquer, they often integrated the people they defeated, offering them forms of citizenship or alliances, which helped to solidify their control and prevent constant rebellions. Think of it as building a strong foundation, brick by brick, across a vast area. This period of expansion laid the groundwork for everything that followed. The military might, the political structures, and the cultural influences forged during the Republic's rise would shape Rome for centuries to come. It was a time of immense growth and ambition, setting the stage for Rome's future dominance. How did this early expansion set the stage for such a monumental empire? The emperors and the Golden Age. Imagine a time when one ruler's word was law, shaping the destiny of millions. The Roman Empire wasn't just a vast territory, it was a stage for powerful emperors, each with their own ambitions and legacies. Some, like Augustus, the very first emperor, ushered in an era of peace and prosperity known as the Pax Romana. His reign was a masterclass in governance, bringing stability after years of civil war. He reformed the army, rebuilt Rome with magnificent structures, and set the empire on a path of expansion and cultural flourishing. Then there were emperors who truly embodied a golden age. Trajan, for instance, was a military genius who expanded the empire to its greatest territorial extent. But he was also known for his public works, building bridges, aqueducts, and his famous Forum, which became a center of Roman life and commerce. Hadrian, his successor, focused on consolidating the empire's borders, famously building Hadrian's Wall in Britain. He was a great traveler, deeply interested in the diverse cultures within his realm, and he patronized arts and architecture, leaving behind stunning buildings like the Pantheon. These emperors weren't just conquerors, they were builders and patrons. They commissioned grand monuments, supported philosophers and artists, and tried to create a unified Roman identity. The imperial court became a center of culture, attracting talent from across the known world. This period saw incredible advancements in law, engineering, and literature, all under the watchful eye of the emperor. It was a time when Rome's influence stretched far and wide, leaving an indelible mark on Western civilization. But the power of an emperor was a double-edged sword. While some were wise and just, others were tyrannical or incompetent, leading to instability and suffering. The succession of emperors was often fraught with danger, with power struggles and assassinations a common occurrence. The very system that allowed for such brilliant leadership also contained the seeds of its own destruction. How did the personality of a single emperor influence the lives of everyday Romans? Cracks in the foundation. Even the mightiest structures can develop unseen weaknesses. For Rome, these cracks began subtly, often masked by outward displays of power and prosperity. Internally, political ambition became a corrosive force. Ambitious generals, commanding loyal legions, started to wield more influence than the Senate, turning armies into personal power bases. This led to a disturbing trend. Emperors were often chosen, or rather overthrown, by their own soldiers, creating a cycle of instability and violence at the very top. Think of it as the leadership constantly changing hands, not through fair elections, but through military coups. Furthermore, the sheer size of the empire became a burden. Governing vast territories, from the sands of North Africa to the misty forests of Britain, required immense resources and a complex bureaucracy. Communication was slow, and local governors often acted with considerable autonomy, sometimes even becoming de facto rulers in their own regions. This decentralization, while necessary for management, also weakened the central authority of Rome. It was like having too many branches on a tree, each growing in its own direction, making the whole structure less cohesive. Economic pressures also began to mount. Maintaining a large army, funding elaborate public works, and supporting a lavish lifestyle for the elite demanded constant income. As the empire expanded less and less, the influx of new wealth and resources dwindled. To compensate, rulers resorted to debasing the currency, mixing precious metals with cheaper ones, which led to rampant inflation. Suddenly, the money people had was worth less and less, making everyday life a struggle for many. This economic strain eroded public trust and made it harder to fund essential services. Finally, social divisions deepened. While a wealthy elite enjoyed immense privilege, the gap between them and the common people, the plebeians, grew wider. Opportunities for social mobility diminished, and a sense of discontent simmered among those who felt left behind. This internal friction, this growing inequality, was a silent threat, weakening the social fabric that held the empire together. Did these internal struggles make Rome more vulnerable from the outside? The empire divided and fallen. The vast Roman Empire, once a symbol of enduring power, began to splinter under its own immense weight. Constant pressure from external tribes, coupled with internal strife and economic woes, made governing such a massive territory increasingly difficult. To manage this sprawling domain more effectively, the empire was eventually split into two halves, the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. This division, intended to strengthen administration, paradoxically sowed the seeds of future separation. Imagine trying to manage a business that spans continents. Eventually, you might need regional managers, but this can also lead to different priorities and loyalties developing. The Western Roman Empire, facing relentless invasions from groups like the Goths and Vandals, found its defenses crumbling. Its cities were sacked, its infrastructure damaged, and its economy severely weakened. Provinces that were once loyal began to break away, forming independent kingdoms. The once mighty legions, stretched thin and often composed of mercenaries with questionable allegiances, could no longer hold the borders. It was a slow, agonizing decline, a far cry from the glory days of Roman expansion. Think of a once impenetrable fortress gradually being eroded by ceaseless attacks and internal neglect. Meanwhile, the Eastern Roman Empire, with its capital in Constantinople, proved more resilient. It maintained a strong economy, a well-organized military, and a more stable political structure. This eastern half, often referred to as the Byzantine Empire, would endure for another 1,000 years, preserving Roman traditions and law long after its Western counterpart had faded into history. It's like one branch of a mighty tree, while the other withers, manages to thrive and continue its growth for centuries. The ultimate fall of the Western Roman Empire is often marked by the deposition of the last Roman emperor in 476 Anno Domini. This event symbolized the end of an era, a monumental shift in the political landscape of Europe. The legacy of Rome, however, would not entirely disappear. Its laws, its language, and its architecture would continue to influence the development of Western civilization for generations to come, a ghost of its former self shaping the world that emerged from its ruins. What lessons can we truly learn from such a grand collapse? From mighty legions to fallen statues, Rome's story is a wild ride of power, innovation, and, ultimately, collapse. We've seen how a small city grew into a vast empire, only to crumble under its own weight and external pressures. It's a powerful reminder that even the greatest civilizations can fade. What other ancient giants shaped our world in ways we still feel today?